Hi and welcome to the show. Today we're chatting to Canadian climber and mountain guide Paul McSorley. He was in Chamonix for the Arc'teryx Academy and we wanted to find out more about his recent trip to Baffin Island, where he and his climbing partners became the first people to climb the wild and remote north face of the Beluga Spire.
My name's Paul McSorley and I'm from Squamish, British Columbia, and I'm a full-time climber there. I do some guiding and I try to work as little as possible. Mostly prefer to go climbing. In the last year and a half, I've done kind of 4 big first ascents on probably 4 different continents. I just like to go to remote spots, nobody's home, and that's a big part of it for me. It's not just the climbing. So we did a trip last summer, 2014, to the eastern fjords of Baffin Island, to Sam Ford Fjord and the Walker Arm. And the story of the film is about putting up the first ascent of Beluga Spire's north face, and it was a virgin 1,200-meter wall that nobody had ever climbed before. Baffin Island, one of the biggest challenges, more than any other trips I've done to the Himalayas or Patagonia or any of these spots, was the logistics, dealing with the locals. They're on their own program, and that might be the case in other parts of the world as well, but they really don't care if you're there or not. They've been there a long time, for generations, obviously, and they just weren't that interested. You know, if we failed or succeeded on our trip, it was pretty cool, actually. I mean, they were helping us out, but logistically, we had to really convince them to take us out there. They weren't too bothered either way. We could have flown all the way up there, and they wouldn't be asked if we didn't climb anything. There's plenty of information out there about Baffin Island. There's even a guidebook, but previously most climbers had gone in springtime, so they would take a skidoo or kamatik and go in with dog sled teams where there's still ice on the ocean, but we wanted to free climb more. So we waited until the ice broke up, which is not until like late July or early August. We took a boat in, and you'll see in the story, we had to wait a few goes to get in there.
The ice is moving out here.
Yeah, it seems like
it is moving out here, but I'm sure that it's stuck along these islands right now.
So we got dropped off, and when these guys took off, they left us with a tiny little tin can of a boat, which you can see in the film. And we just felt like we were marooned, like you couldn't be further from anywhere. It was about a 12-hour boat ride up the eastern fjords, and you're about 200 kilometers from Greenland at this point. We pulled it up onto the cliff, and then we started climbing and scrambling on the approach pitches.
Paul is now carrying a huge chunk of ice up the mountain. This is getting ridiculous.
This is our lunch.
And I think it took us about 3 days to do the climb. It didn't matter because there's 24-hour light there, so we just kind of bivvied whenever we were tired and whenever we wanted.
Yeah, this morning it's bars and coffee.
Does anybody know what time it is?
No idea.
No, it doesn't matter.
Does anybody
it's probably about 4 or 5.
Does anybody know what day it is?
Doesn't matter.
The sun is out for 24 hours, or at least there's light for 24 hours. There is no, beginning or end. You basically go when you can and come back when you can.
I'm gonna just climb across it, just onto that pillar there. Oh yeah. Okay.
Twist a root here.
Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches.
I think up to the choss and then right and then up to the big corner.
You're looking up at these walls and you're kind of like, oh, there's 1 pitch, 2 pitch, 3 pitch. Oh, you're like halfway up the wall, so you know that that's like gotta be 10 pitches that what you think is through.
Good, Paul.
Good work, Paul.
Nice.
We had no certainty of our outcome. That, for all of us, left a sizable impression. We didn't know whether we were going to make it to the fjord, whether we were going to be able to climb on those walls, whether our boat was going to make it there. Every step along the way, we had an uncertainty.
Really experiencing Olympian detachment in the world below. Yeah, Tony, I'm with you, man.
Yeah, Tony! Zach! Yow! Right on.
We topped out kind of sometime on the third day, probably around 11 p.m., but it was still bright as day.
Dude, is this really the summit? Wow.
We did it.
Dude.
Unreal.
This is world class. That last pitch, and although it wasn't the 512 overhanging splitter that you were after, was still pretty damn fun.
And then it took us about another 6 or 8 hours to get back to base camp. And yeah, it was a hell of a tour. I think I might go to India in the fall, and there's all kinds of unclimbed rock there, so probably do a bit of a tour throughout the southern provinces, and there's all kinds of granite domes there to climb, but I should probably not be letting the cat out of the bag yet. So yeah, stay tuned.
Thanks for chatting to us, Paul, and have a great time in India. That's it for Climbing Daily this week. We'll see you on Monday.